This video is brought to you by Nord Current Labs and their upcoming game Chains of Freedom, a high-stakes turn-based tactics game inspired by classics like XCOM. The world has gone to hell and you're the only one who can save it. Command an elite military squad through perilous missions filled with danger, deceit, and moral dilemmas, the three tastiest flavors of intrigue. In order to unravel a complex plot involving a rogue scientist, mind control serums, and a government teetering on the edge of collapse, you'll need to be prepared. That's where your squad comes in. Saute together a mirepoix of weapons, ranging from meat hooks and axes to flamethrowers and mortars. And don't forget to enhance your characters with unique abilities by mixing and matching biocrystals found in the world. Hell yeah, biocrystals, that's the umami of upgrades. I shouldn't write ads when I'm this hungry. Hungry for Chains of Freedom, which releases later this year on PC. And if you want to scratch that turn-based tactics itch right now, head on over to the Steam page and check out the demo yourself as part of Next Fest.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Firelink Podcast, episode number 56 for Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Marty here is always joined by Nick, Casey, and producer Eric, and our special guest, Second Wind Zone Javed, who you all know for our Second Wind logo and branding, his incredible Kojima and the Real Metal Gear Solid video, his work on his own excellent Good Blood channel, and most recently, today's wonderful Animal Well doc. Javed, we are thrilled to have you here. That is one of those little like centerpieces that I watch and I'm like, ooh, I'm proud to work here. Most days, not proud to work here. Today, one of those days I'm proud to work here.
Thanks.
I'm glad I can boost stuff.
That's all we ask for. All we ask for is you boosting.
We just ask for pretty images from you.
Yeah. We're very simple, but welcome everyone. Great to see everyone in the YouTube chat. So many members of the Green Gang, so many patrons. Wonderful to see you all. We have a great show today. As I mentioned, we're going to start off. We're going to talk a little bit about this Animal Well doc. What it was like. Nick's, Jesse, and Jack shot the doc 6 months ago, 7 months ago, late summer. And, Javed's been cooking on it ever since and finally got to see the light today. So we're going to talk about that process. Also touch on a couple news bits, including following up from last week's story on WB Games, the closure of Monolith Studios, the developer known for the Fear series, Condemned, and most recently the Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor games. Shut down. So we're going to touch on that a little bit, and Nick will have more on that tomorrow on his episode of Unpacked. I'll also touch a little bit on the Pokemon news from this morning. It's Pokemon Day. Did you know today's Pokemon Day?
I only learned that information thanks to you. So I am waiting with bated breath for you to tell me what will clearly disappoint me.
This is the 29th anniversary, so maybe wait one more year for a very exciting one on the 30th anniversary.
They got a game coming out.
They do. It's got a ZA, and it takes place in like fake ass Paris. I'm excited. And then we'll be talking about what we've been playing recently, including some Next Fest demos. Javed's been playing fucking Red Dead, and let me tell you, all I want to do is talk about Red Dead. But most importantly, Casey has 40 hours into Monster Hunter Wilds. He's got a big beefy video coming out tomorrow, and so we're gonna be chatting about that game. That's probably the biggest game of the year so far. I think it's gonna be the best selling game of the first half of the year. That's my prediction.
Easy. Very easily.
Yeah, I feel like this is tracking to be Capcom's just best selling game ever.
That's crazy. Yeah,
like it's at the top of just every like Steam wish list chart beta thing. Like everyone at like I was in meetings all day at Ubisoft today. Everyone was talking about Monster Hunter in my Ubisoft meeting.
When the quote unquote competition is like, fuck, we gotta take some time off to play this. You got something good.
Our world team was like, yeah, we have a vacation tomorrow.
Yeah. But while Monster Hunter is obviously a game made by hundreds, if not close to thousands, Animal Well is a game made by an individual, obviously with some help in the back end by publishers and PR and folks like that. But Animal Well, one of our, I feel like, our maybe collectively Second Wind's favorite game of last year. We didn't really do like a tally or like put the numbers together, but I feel like enough of us were like, oh, this is my favorite game of the year, that I feel like it might have been.
Might have been the game that the most of us all actually like played through as well. Like sometimes it's like there's like little fragmentations of like, oh, a couple people did play this, a couple people played that, but almost all of us, I think, completed Animal Well, to my knowledge.
It's 50 megabytes. Very easy to download.
Yeah, very small
incredibly
game.
easy, very incredibly easy to download. Javed, you spent a ton of time head down in Animal Well, in Billy Basso's story and everything over the past couple of months. Like, kind of what's your big takeaway on Animal Well now that this project is finally off your plate?
Yeah, I'd say that so for the create the B-roll, we had to go back through all the prototypes. We were lucky enough for Billy to send us all the old prototypes of back from 17 all the way up to. So that was a pretty eye-opening thing as far as seeing the evolution.
Oh, hold on a second. I think Javed, your audio's cutting out pretty bad. I
Oh,
don't know if
is
you're
it?
too far away from the camera.
No, it seems like there's it's doing one of those things like the
Like a limiter, like noise cancellation-y type thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Eric, do you know exactly what that is? I feel like it's a single setting, and I know what the setting is, but I don't know what it's called.
Is that better?
Yes, I think.
Okay.
How can a longer sentence will know?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So prototypes, seeing the evolution of the game was pretty eye-opening, and it kind of gave me an opportunity to get in Billy's head a little bit, to seeing how, which puzzles stayed and which puzzles evolved, and even movements and stuff like that. So I think the takeaway was it really was a labor of love, and there's a lot of craft put into it, and I think, I think we can pick that up. Like, when we experience good craft, I think it resonates into like different parts of our minds and hearts and bodies. So I think that was the big takeaway, was like, well, there's like a lot of craft put into Animal Well when it comes to the tonality and puzzles and gameplay and stuff. So I think it was about honoring that a little bit in the doco too. Like, how can we pour our craft into this doco to honor the game?
Yeah. Yeah, it's I feel like we talk a lot about the difference between indie games and AAA is that with indies, with smaller teams, you can kind of sense a thumbprint. You get that a little bit with triple. I mean, your Kojima video. Like, Kojima might be one of the guys in the AAA space where you can feel his thumbprint on his projects, even if hundreds of people worked on it. Whereas this is Billy's game. Like, this is like one of those very singular visions, and I loved hearing the story about that Nick, you and the team talked to Billy about in Chicago, about how he just walks around all the time, and he gets his inspiration by living in a city and wandering around and looking at these little gardens and seeing these like weird little statues and kind of being like, what's going on in there? Like, and that kind of playful curiosity is something that absolutely comes across in the game from the get-go. Like, it is so clear that he funneled that experience, his life experience, into the game, even though it's about little critters and frisbees and ghosts and eggs and whatnot.
Yeah. No, if I could just add it, he did, like, the way it's portrayed in the documentary makes that so crystal clear that this is one person's sort of microcosm of the world around them. Like, I loved how, like, all the imagery of the city of Chicago, like, on his walking path, almost directly translates into just the stuff you discover in the game that he ended up making. So it's almost like you are peering into that man's brain.
Yeah, when we were filming, like, he took us around to like all these very specific spots that were like, this inspired this and this inspired that, and like, you literally just garden gnomes in somebody's yard. Like, well, that inspired this, and there's like there's literally a fountain that just is literally and a shit. It's a poop fountain. I sent a picture of it to the Slack staff. You remember that?
On the plaque it says shit fountain. It's a proper it's a proper
shit fountain.
It's just a poo. Like, it's just this.
Yeah, literally just a poo, and it's like in a residential area. But yeah, like, it just everything around him just became a puzzle to him in his mind, and now he added it to the game, and it was really, really fun talking to him. I mean, so I always find documentaries, like, with single creators much harder to do, actually, because they have to remember everything. There's not somebody that can like go and piece the rest of the story together. So like this documentary is actually really challenging to film. Not to mention, the first of those 2 videos that went after me dropped while I was doing interviews there, which it was pretty emotional this morning because that was a really, really stressful week. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's also with a single creator, you get it's like I've done some of these behind the scenes videos and stuff and interviews at bigger studios, at Ubisoft studios on Assassin's Creed games or whatnot, or for Final Fantasy games or for FromSoft games, and you end up interviewing half a dozen, 10 people, and chances are someone's going to be super charismatic, and you could be like, I can sort of tie this around this person to carry the energy. And with a single person, you're at the mercy of who this person is, and thankfully, like, it seems like you guys really got Billy out of his shell, and for making a game that is so, again, like, singular and smart and layered, like, he doesn't seem like pretentious whatsoever. So it was so cool how casual he was at explaining something that, to me, when I played it, it felt so special and so thoughtful.
Yeah, it's always that's like the hardest part of the documentaries is especially if you have a single creator, I have to spend some time with them, kind of just breaking that ice, talking to them, getting to know them a little bit, just so that we can get into that area where, like, the conversation just becomes casual and, like, we are having a conversation. I'm not just interviewing him and having him Q&A. And I think even when I do a lot of documentaries at the bigger studios, that surprises them, because I think when they've had film people come in or whatever, it's very, very structured. We're going from one question to the next to the next to the next. And the way I do documentaries is I outline this general story I want to tell, but leave it broad enough that, like, oh, he brought this up, so I'm going to continue on that thread and ask about this, and then lead it back. The way I've always described doing the documentaries, though, like, I love making these things. I love doing the interviews, but it's like talking to your teacher for 8 hours and having to come up with a follow-up question after every single thing, and it is mind draining. I'm never more tired.
That was a long interview as well. Like, it was like
2.5 hours.
Yeah. Talking, and even for Billy, like, he did such a good job. But he's so chill. I think what worked was
he's too chill. I was trying to stay awake during the whole thing. Like, please, energy.
but I think what worked for that was, like, he it's not like he started really energetic and got tired later. He was chilled the whole time. Yeah. And so it means you can jump in at any point, and you're going to get, like, Billy with the same kind of inflections and the same, like, version of him the whole way. So I feel like that was good, as far as, because when you're cutting it together, sometimes you need to grab a piece of dialogue from the 2-hour point and bring it in to the beginning, just to have a sense of flow and story. But the good thing about Billy was, like, he sounds the same as at the 2-hour point. And so, like, this beautiful flow. It was so easy to create it.
Billy kind of has, like, a very, like, some people, like, when they're doing interviews will go from exciting to tired. Billy is just flatline across the entire time. But he was great to talk to. I think, if I remember correct, it's been so long. I like, during that period of time when everything was happening last year, like, especially when I went to Nebraska for a month to take care of my mom, like, that period of time from when I filmed that doc through, I think I was in Nebraska in July, like, it's just blank in my head. But I think at the start of that interview, he was very technical with what he was trying to explain to me, because I think I asked him about the engine and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I was completely lost for a little bit, and I think I had to recenter it into, just tell me the story of this game. I can't keep up with you on some of this stuff.
Yeah. Very, very technical mind as well.
Yeah. He's stupid smart. Like, he is really smart.
And it's wild to hear his backstory of, like, working, speaking, I guess, of Warner Brothers, but, like, working on mobile Warner Brothers, like, Injustice and Mortal Kombat games. Like, I don't know, it's one of those stories where every time, we'll touch on it in a little bit, but every time you hear a story about a studio like Monolith having layoffs, closing, or 10 people, 100 people losing their jobs, you always think to yourself, like, this is mind-numbing how often this happens, but you also just have that hope that like someone will be able to pick themselves up and be like, well, fuck this, I'm just going to make something of my own. I'm going to make something that I'm interested in, something that I'm passionate with. And very few people are as fortunate as Billy to A, have an idea that good, B, have the work ethic, but C, just be able to work on a project like this for the better part of a decade.
Yeah,
that's the thing that
You go, Nick.
I was going to say that's the thing, like spending 7 years on a single thing like that, I don't know if I could keep focus for that long. Like I like doing different things.
Well, especially you get the story of people who spend that much time on a game and the game gets canceled. So you spend that much time on something that never sees the light of day, and all of a sudden your resume just has this weird like 5-year gap, which is gnarly. Sorry, Javed, you were saying?
Well, I was going to say, like, I think one thing Billy had that was really impressive was a vision. Like his ability, he had all the technical skills and he kind of taught himself how to do all this programming and stuff like that. But to have a vision that gets massaged over 7 years to the end product, I feel like that's a real skill. To have the stamina to keep crafting and keep thinking tonally. Because one thing we said, because we jumped on a call a few weeks back just to kind of get some final thoughts on all the awards and stuff, and he was saying, as he kept developing the engine and kept improving, say, like the lighting or the particle effects or whatever, it would then evolve his thinking of what the tone could be. So it was kind of this like marriage of engine evolution and like vision, and how exhausting that must be to keep improving, but then also have the vision, kind of like have the goalposts keep changing. I think until you finally get it.
He didn't like have like all kinds of layer design docs or anything. He just kind of made the thing. Which
it was all in his
like,
head.
How do you like puzzles? Like I think that's the thing. Like when you really think about what he made and like the amount of puzzles and mysteries in there.
Yeah.
Like that line I think the line that stuck out to everybody in the documentary is like, what does it truly take to hide something? And like that, when he said that, it's like just bothers me because I'm like, how? Yeah, I don't know how you
gotta be built different. Honestly, like I think you got to be a very specific.
Felt smart. Like when I would hide my friend's phone somewhere, I'm like, I don't
see. That's different. Different folks got different smartness. Javed, we end the doc on like a really neat place where talks a little bit about future projects Billy's working on. The next thing, we don't know exactly what it is, and then also is very coy about if there's any mysteries still left in Animal Well, and he's very coy about that. But
Eric needs to change the server because we're having stream problems.
Oh,
so it's good. Now you can continue talking.
So just after having spent so much time with it, like, is there something that you hope to see from Billy next, want to see from Billy next, expect to see from Billy next, or is it kind of just like, I'm here for the ride?
Yeah, I wonder what it could be, because if you look at like John Blow, he's the one that comes to mind. Like he went from Braid to Witness, very different games, right? Different, almost the evolution puzzle crafting. And I think for Billy, even, whether he acknowledges it or not, like surely his ability to craft puzzles has evolved like exponentially, right? Like the way he thinks about puzzles and also seeing, I think what's fascinating is like living in the age of streaming and watching people in real time solve puzzles, how much good information that is for people who are crafting puzzles to like, okay, how can I like evolve this, or how can I make it more difficult this way? So I don't quite know what Billy's next thing is, but I'm sure it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, streaming is almost like having unlimited free focus testing, right? And not necessarily in your own game, but in the way that like you could see how human beings react to situations, to things, and you can get a huge like, oh, how do these kinds of people react? These kinds of people.
I'd love to see him make a detective game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because it's also following up your first kind of big splashy hit is tough. You mentioned, for every Jonathan Blow out there, you have a Phil Fish who makes Fez and then kind of pieces out, or you have something like Toby Fox, and like Deltarune's still being worked on, but like when you have such a massive hit like Undertale or Concerned Ape and Stardew Valley, like where do you go from there? It's mind-numbing.
That's been kind of a consistent, I don't want to say issue, but a thing with these sorts of like breakout single developed indie titles.
We can talk about Silksong.
I mean, I think that team is like 3 people, but like same sort of energy, right? It's like it's almost too much pressure, and a lot of people just kind of it just never materializes. Like the next thing just never meets that grandiose expectation. Like with few examples. So like I don't know, like this could just be a one and done thing, but like it from like the vibe I got from the documentary's closing was that like Billy is unaffected by that sort of thing, right? Like all that pressure, that attention, whatever, like he really is just very evenly tempered and just loves what he does. Yeah. And like all of the success that came with it is great, but like it's not necessarily affecting him. So like this may be a situation where like he'll probably be fine. Like we'll get whatever his next big idea is down the road, maybe another 7 years from now. And it'll maybe blow the socks off of us there too.
Yeah, I wonder how long it's going to be for the next one.
I mean, like the possibility of him like getting help could happen too, right? Yeah, like he's got money, he's got resources, he's got that.
He doesn't have to do everything himself. Which he learned, obviously, we tell the story of how we learned that he didn't have to do the side of the business that he doesn't like and isn't good at. Like Dan Edelman is able to come in and help with PR and everything. And then obviously Big Mode with Donkey and Leah are able to come in and help kind of push the game across the finish line and get as many eyeballs on it as humanly possible. But look at that picture. Look at the Sweet Boys. Oh, that's nice. To people listening to the podcast, there's a picture of Donkey and the Sweet Boys. Which is my favorite band. You know who the Sweet Boys are.
Donkey and the Sweet Boys. Love them.
Donkey and the Sweet Boys.
Donkey in particular. He's interesting guy to interview.
Madison's own. Let me tell you. I'm just saying, Wisconsin, we got the big 4. We got Donkey, we got me, we got Jack, and we got the quartering. Now that 4th one I don't like.
I thought you were gonna say Henry Winkler, and you said the quartering.
Yeah, I went the quartering to come up there.
One of those is not like the other, but yeah.
But like just like when I met Yahtzee for the first time, when I made him go to E3 for the Escapist, like he was very, very shy, very kind of reserved. From our team, it was Omar, Matt, and Mike Pescarello, who doesn't work with us anymore. Still good friends with him though, but we really had to like Yahtzee over the years kind of became much more active and talkative with us. Like back when we started working with Yahtzee, like there was no way he would have done something like Adventurous Night back then. So he like really grew over the years. But if you hadn't met Yahtzee before, you would assume from his videos like he's bombastic and very talkative and all that. Not at all like that in person. Donkey, same way. Very shy. Very, very shy.
I think a lot of creators are.
Yeah. It just surprises you because like, you listen to their videos and they're so well spoken and high energy and all that, and then you get in person and like, oh man, you very different.
Videos a lot of times are kind of ostensibly a performance, right? It's like the same thing as like an actor who exudes a ton of energy and then you get them, behind scenes, and that's an introvert and an extrovert, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get it twisted. You don't know these people.
Nope. Just but very, very, very fun as a interviewer to have to break somebody like that out of their shell and then get them comfortable enough to like have fun on camera and talk and tell you those funny stories like of Billy hiding secrets from them and all that. The interview, you might say.
Yeah, I think you did well though. What was cool about Donkey when it came to crafting the story was that it's Donkey and Billy next to each other. You kind of get a night and day type thing where Billy is really calm and he's good at just telling it as it is and guiding the story along. When it comes to just like a plot. But Donkey was great. And really adding the spikes to the story. Mm-hmm. So, when it comes to storytelling, just keeping you in a moment, talking about how Billy was evil and he's he's good at having like more reactionary responses. And so I feel like you kind of need that. Like, and it's a shame that he didn't, when it comes to the story, it's a shame that he wasn't involved until later, because it would have been good to have his personality earlier in the piece. And we ended up bringing some of his interview snippets to like the very intro, just to like, have a bit of a spike there. He's such an interesting guy to talk to.
Yeah,
a little bit of texture, and also the promise of like, different people, because I think we stay with Billy for like 15 minutes. And so it's almost like we promised there's someone else coming, It's a long time to stay with someone as wonderful and lovely as Billy is, who's just such a chill dude. It's a big ask to stick with someone for that long when they're the only ones guiding. So
that's the hard part about just doing documentaries for like studios too that have run a long time, because a lot of those founders aren't there to tell the story. And like Larian was like that, where Sven is 90% of the story before we get to the other people, basically. And it's just hard to, it's what's frustrating about like game development entirely, is just because they don't archive their stuff very well. None of them do. So like trying to get these stories, and either hopefully there's enough founders there or people there that can fill in those gaps, but oftentimes like sometimes you gotta call somebody that's 3 countries away to figure some of these things out.
Yeah, that's always man. I think projects like these are so important just to video game preservation and history and storytelling, because it just feels like the first couple decades of this medium just didn't have those stories told, and some of them are going back and having the stories told, like the making of like Karateka and stuff like that, like in hindsight having those stories told. But I mean, Javed, from YouTube and stuff like the Hyrule journals, that like Japan can be a thing that's very hard to unlock in like the history of companies like Nintendo or Square or FromSoft or anyone, Konami. Like it's very hard to sort of crack that, and some of that information's out there, but you have to roll up your sleeves and be like, okay, I got to find this fucking magazine and translate this article, because there's little nuggets in here that no one knows, that have never made it to the internet, and we don't know about these things yet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So like on the topic of having one person talking through a documentary, I made maybe 2 years ago now, and this isn't just for me to plug my own stuff, but I promise to connect.
I hired you because of your own stuff.
Okay, right. I interviewed Jason Leung, who was the localizer for Majora's Mask, and that was such a win for me, because I finally got in contact with someone who worked on like my favorite game ever. But what was so challenging was we ended up talking twice over the course of, it was during COVID, so it was all remotely. But I tried to get other people, like staff from Nintendo Power. I reached out to like Bill Trinan, who's like Shigeru Miyamoto's like right-hand man when it comes to translating his stuff. And no one got back to me. Like it's so hard to crack the Nintendo scene when it comes to just interviews or just any kind of insight. And so that doco, unfortunately, was just Jason. I mean, the story he was telling is fascinating, but when it comes to just like documentary craft, it was just him for like half an hour just telling the story. And yeah, so even just trying so hard, you're right, Marty, like cracking the Japan scene, the Nintendo scene, so tricky.
Yeah, From Software like is completely closed off to this stuff. They'll never do it.
Yeah,
I wonder why that is.
Well, they won't never.
That's just
like I did the making of Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne, but I think
so they'll do it for Marty, but
they did it for Marty. They haven't done it. I don't think they did it for Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, or so either we did such a good job that they never did it again, or we did such a bad job.
You ruined it for
like,
the rest of us.
We can't let these fucking guys in back in the studio. They embarrassed us too much.
Yeah, Japan in general is just really closed off to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's maybe that'll change with time, as you know. There's like we're in a period of a huge changing of the guard at Nintendo over the next 10, 15 years. Kind of starting with the death of Iwata, and then Miyamoto's not going to be doing this forever, and folks like Tezuka and Aonuma. Like you're seeing the baton being passed for these massive franchises and brands from one generation to the next. So
Yeah, they're definitely getting ready.
A lot of them gone indie too.
a lot of folks gone indie. Yeah, that's another thing. And yeah, I'm thankful that we have stuff like one of my favorite new small media outlets is Kit and Krista, who were former PR at Nintendo. And they were PR at Nintendo for years and years and years. And they left and they just cover games. They just have a podcast and streams and stuff. But they bring they have stories no one knows about. Like, what was it like to travel the Nintendo team on like the Switch press tour? Like that kind of thing. Like there's none of us know what that was like. So I think it's really cool that that we get more and more kind of points of views and outlets like that. I think just knowing more about how the sausage is made is always a good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think too now, like it's been a while since I've seen anything from inside the Nintendo offices themselves. I think it's all pretty hush hush. You know, it's all pretty closed off compared to say like, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get any footage from anybody of like what that could look like. But what was interesting was talking to Jason, who flew over to Nintendo back in 2000, I think it was, or 99. He was like, yeah, it was interesting. It was such a cold culture where everyone wears uniforms. Everyone has like a Nintendo uniform. It's not like you just wear whatever you want to work. And every lunchtime they go to the roof and they do, I'm not sure if Tai Chi is the name, but just like exercising and they go down
calisthenics,
yeah. So it's very structured, very cold. He's like almost felt like a dentist's office walking in there with just the aesthetic of the place.
Yeah, I was floored by how bland and banal the FromSoft offices were. Like if you would have told me this was just like where fucking Japanese folks go to do their taxes, I'd have been like, yeah, that checks out. Like, I'm like, how are y'all making these slippery critters in this game? Like the weirdest shit imaginable from like the most boring office ever. I think it's just a different lifestyle than like you see like Billy works out of like an apartment with all sorts of cool shit in it, that kind of thing. So yeah, just different culture.
Yeah.
I love that though. Any closing thoughts on the doc from either of you before we move on and touch on these news pieces and get to Monster Hunter?
Yeah, I'm just really thankful it's finally out there. Javed did an incredible job in the edit, and Jesse Schwab, and we had an extra Carlo, on the filming because Jack had his ankle broken, so he couldn't really.
He didn't have it. It's not like a mobster did it. He broke his.
We don't know. He could have been anything.
He was trying to fake river dance on stage, and he twisted an ankle.
Yep.
As a 40-plus-year-old man is wont to do.
Yeah. It was very. That was the first time I'd driven a minivan. That was fun driving everybody around in a minivan for that shoot. Lots of driving. We probably should have stayed in Chicago because I was like we had to do like 4 hours of driving every day for the doc.
Cool. Yeah.
So between interviewing and then having to drive, I was very tired. But yeah, no, I'm really thankful that we were able to get that story out there. I'm really thankful that Billy trusted me to tell that story, and I'm just glad everything didn't implode during that time because that was the most stressful period of Second Wind thus far, just getting that thing filmed and everything else that was going on.
I'm going to make shit more stressful.
Nope. Donkey hasn't shared it yet, but Billy loved it.
Yeah. Billy came back with no changes, which was awesome because it was like, okay, let's show Billy just to make sure, because there's such a risk of like, obviously we don't want to feature too many spoiler screens for the game, but also we don't want to like, because we have access to all these prototypes now. It's like we don't want to reveal anything that Billy maybe didn't want people to see because I'll close it off by saying like one of the joys of last year was spending hours just traversing the prototypes, because the way he structured it was he would build screens and he would drag them to the side if he didn't want them connected to the main map, but you could kind of exit the map and use the bubble one bloop, 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 to kind of find your way to these like secret screens. And so it was just hours of just like searching all these like secret screens and trying to break the game, and that was really good fun. So yeah, that was probably like my favorite part, was like, as a fan of Animal Well, getting to like see the secrets. What was I talking about? Billy approving? Yeah. All to say, Billy was really happy with everything. Like he's yeah, it was nothing but praise from him, which was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Hell
always fun getting to film those, because you know, over time sometimes the stories get really personal, and so like, you know, you end up really getting to know that person while you're there and becoming friends with the people at the studio and everything.
I also just really like the name Billy Basso. I'm going to be honest. It doesn't
It's a dope-
sound like
it's
a
a
real
dope name.
name, but it's a very cool name. He sounds like a street level Marvel hero.
Yeah, like he's gonna be the Flash before he dies.
Puzzler. So yeah, definitely. If you haven't yet checked out the incredible Animal Well doc, and yeah, some folks were worried. Granted, I finished the game. I don't feel like there were spoilers in the doc. Personally,
There's
I'm
like
also
a hint
very weird
at
when it
one
comes to
rather
spoilers.
big like secret. I feel like the thing with the faces, but like it's not like a
Oh.
spoiler.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I
if you
think it's
don't
one of
know
those things where if you don't know, it's not going
Right.
to mean anything.
Right.
Yeah. I think you're safe to watch this, having not played the game personally.
Yeah, there's no puzzle solutions or anything there. Billy doesn't spoil anything, like some imagery
Monkey
spoilers.
spoils that you
but-
can ride the frisbee.
Yeah, it's so early on.
I think the trailers show that you could ride the frisbee, so I think you're fine. But yeah, a great doco, and yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get to do more of those in the near future. So looking forward to that.
I have one that I'm working on locking in, and I'm excited about it. So
Hell yeah. Cool. Moving on quick. We're gonna get to the super chats in a little bit. I think after the news stories and before we get to stuff we've been playing in Monster Hunter. But really quick, just wanted to touch on the Monolith thing. Nothing to really dwell on. Nick will go further in depth in his unpack tomorrow, and then obviously we talked about Warner Brothers games as a whole last week. But yeah, following up on that discussion, Warner Brothers games announced that they have canceled the Wonder Woman project that was unveiled at the Game Awards a couple of years ago. And then they have shuttered Monolith, who is best known, as I mentioned, for the Fear games and Condemned, No One Lives Forever, and most recently Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, as well as Player First Games, who were the Multiverses devs, and WB San Diego, who I believe was a mobile studio. And so those three studios shuttering and just announcing that their plan now is to focus just on the big tentpole IP, which is kind of the same thing that HBO is kind of looking at. So Game of Thrones, DC, Harry Potter, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's the same line that has come from several other big publishers as well. Like, oh, we're going to close all this other stuff down, and we're just going to do the thing that we think on paper will make the most money, and it's a real pain. Yeah,
and for Monolith, they hadn't released a game since Shadow of War in 2017. They were afterwards working on a new IP that got canceled in 2021, and after that, a bunch of the leads at the studio left, and a lot of them formed Cliffhanger, who is a Seattle-based EA studio that is currently working on the Black Panther game, which is different than the World War II Black Panther Captain America game. So this is just a Black Panther game that we have not seen really anything of yet, but seemingly like an open world Wakanda, something that maybe we'll see this year. But yeah, just a fucking bummer of a story in a year or two or five filled with fucking bummer stories similar to this. And over in the Patreon, Kyle Vanden Eyden, thank you so much at the $5 tier, commented, what would be your pitch for a Wonder Woman game? Do you think Monolith was set up for failure, as in they were forced to make a game with the DC brand that was similar to the Mordor games and not something new and original? It also blows my mind when years of development money gets scrapped to reboot a project. Should studios have more scrutiny during pre-development and really lock in a vision to avoid rebooting later? Well, I mean, the developers, to answer that last thing, the developers don't really have an option in that. That is ultimately a leadership decision. One interesting thing about the Wonder Woman game and the Nemesis system was they said that the way the Nemesis system was going to work was a reverse Nemesis system, in that instead of you angering people and developing feuds with them, the game kind of starts off with everyone pissed at you, and you break down those barriers and like you kind of warm up. They warm up to you, which I thought was a neat twist on that.
So like real life.
A little bit like real life, where like everyone's. I start off, I meet everyone, and I assume they're my enemy, and then it just takes a little while. I'm like, no, you're cool, you're good.
Everyone's an enemy until you become friends with them.
Exactly, and if that never happens, they're just your enemy for life. So there you go.
Yeah.
Like
It's like most RPGs do that already.
Yeah, it's kind of like
A little bit.
Yeah.
A big thing that came out of this was surrounding the Nemesis system, because for a long time there's been controversy around the Nemesis system, because it's something that when it was first revealed, it was copyrighted by a company. Like they successfully managed to
Warner Monolith made it, and then Warner Bros. Patented it. Yeah, so that nobody else could use it.
Right,
Yeah.
and the thing is, not even they ended up using it all that much. Like they got one other use in the Shadow of War, Shadow of
Yeah, it was Shadow of
Mordor?
Mordor,
War,
and
the second
Shadow of
game.
War.
Yeah.
the second one. Yeah, they used it the second time for that same franchise, and just no other studio within Warner Brothers, and then them not to get like. So I'm just curious, because like, what if someone wanted to riff on that? Like, at what level would they be allowed to? Like, if they did a reverse one in this Wonder Woman game, like, would that be something that someone else could then copy? Like, is that a Nemesis system when it's really about friendship?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
The Monolith story is really frustrating, because they were working on, after Shadow of War, they were working on an original IP that Warner Bros. Like was iffy on even when they first started working on it. It wasn't tied to any of their properties, none of the licensed stuff. And then after 3 years of development, finally decided they didn't want it and canceled it, and then put them on the Wonder Woman game. You know, like, we want something that there's connection to, that we can sell, and blah, blah, blah. So then they spent the next 3 years on Wonder Woman, and now it's gone. And like, so this is, I cover all this in Unpack tomorrow, but like, this is a straight up story of corporate meddling and mismanagement across all of Warner Bros. Studios. And it all comes back to the recently resigned president, David Haddad, who basically, like, as I think I said last week or the week before, whenever all this stuff dropped, is like, you can feel his footprint on Warner Bros. Game Studios, because Shadow of War is the first time that they tried to implement microtransactions and everything into a single player game.
Yeah, that was a pretty egregious example that they had to roll back, because it was pretty clear that there were certain elements and values in the game that were tweaked in order to make you want to spend money. Like, things felt overly difficult because they were like, oh, well, you should buy this so you can get some orc buds. And listen, I'm the first one who wants to spend money on orc buds, but not at the expense of game balance.
Yeah,
sound like talking about designer headphones.
Orc buds. Jay-Z's orc buds.
But yeah, so like the problems start there, and then they go into their live service age of, let's have you develop Suicide Squad and Gotham Knights and all that. And Warner Bros. Montreal was working on a project before Gotham Knights, and which was also going to be single player original stuff. I reported on all that in Unpack last week again. And then they're like, oh, we want this, another Batman game with multiplayer and live service. And just so much bullshit. And over all those years, all the leadership at all these studios have left and formed their own new studios. So these studios were basically asked to basically start from scratch. And then now they're gone. And I mean, the long term of this, does Rocksteady survive another 3 years? I don't know. And then they're putting their eggs in Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, all that kind of stuff. And sequels oftentimes don't sell better than the original game. Is Hogwarts Legacy 2 gonna do 30 million plus copies? Or did people get what they want? And Game of Thrones, what's gonna separate that from any other fantasy RPG? And I'll tell you what, I tried that. There's a demo for that Game of Thrones Kings Road demo game, that AAA mobile game that we saw at the Game Awards.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, real bad. It has nothing to do with Warner Bros. They just licensed it out to Netmarble. Netmarble's making this thing, but that demo, I made it about 15 minutes, and I had to nope out of it because it's just bad. It's really bad. There's a part where you're on a horse, and it's completely railroaded. You don't even get to move the horse or anything. They didn't even port They ported
How
the
did
mobile
Eric
game
pull up the
to
horse
PC.
clip? The
Yeah, that was
sentence you were
incredible.
talking about the horse. What is happening?
I don't.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
swear to
amazing.
God, we're on a delay somehow.
We are on a
We're
delay.
like living in a delay, and Eric is like 15 seconds ahead of us in life. And I
But,
don't understand it.
But like Harry Potter is a good example of like this corporate milking of their product, their brands, to the point that like it doesn't always work because Quidditch Champions failed. So the Harry Potter brand alone does not sell like they think it's going to. And Game of Thrones is the same way with their games and everything. They're like, oh, we have a killer mobile app, Game of Thrones Conquest, definitely going to translate to console games and all that. It's like, are you sure about that?
Yeah, it's the blatant footprint of
Yeah.
corporate oversight because all they care about are brands. Like there's no vision for what the actual
Well,
gameplay appeal is. It's like this is a popular brand, metrics show it will sell. Make a product featuring this brand equals profit.
the thing with Harry Potter too, it's like it's Harry Potter. Like there's not a brand to build from. They're going to be retelling the same story again in the TV series they're doing. Hogwarts Legacy, like, I did not have a great story at all. I don't remember any of it. Yeah, I just it boggles my mind that like these companies milk these brands to absolute death, don't take the time to develop new IP, and then when they get milked to death and they don't sell, Marvel, because clearly not every Marvel game does gangbusters like Guardians of the Galaxy and Marvel Midnight Suns. Like, well, what do we do now? It's like, well, you didn't plan for the future.
I feel like Space Jam 2 was a good indication.
Yeah, Darren said the same thing.
of where their priorities lie.
Mhm.
When it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen, but it contained all of their IPs. Like it's like if it did one thing, it ticked every single IP box.
I did enjoy pointing out the Animaniacs in the background.
But it was also like, here's the like fucking marauders from Clockwork Orange, and I'm like, why are they in this movie? Like, they're bad dudes. They shouldn't be in this movie.
Dude, the
Children are watching this.
Pennywise was in the background and like that's scary as hell, man. Like this is a kids movie. Like I did have some friends whose kids were like they had nightmares watching Space Jam 2 because of Pennywise. I'm like, guys, what are you doing? It's such an odd like inclusion.
Yeah, like you can only go so far on more Batman games. Like that's their plan, is to go back to Batman again. It's like, right?
We haven't had a good telling of how Batman's parents died. We need a good retelling of what happened to his parents after they left that movie theater.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I would be excited for from Batman, I can't remember. There was some pitch like last year that somebody showed like Batman Beyond with like the Spider-Verse kind of art style.
Yeah,
that would excite me. That'd be fresh and new.
Yeah,
But,
I think a lot of people were like,
another
Batman
game.
Beyond is a good idea, but like, like Batman Beyond isn't Batman in the tradition. Like, it's a more niche version of Batman. So if they're really directing them to go back to Batman, they mean Bruce the F.
I never like vibed with Batman Beyond, which is weird because I loved Batman the animated series, and I feel like everyone I know who loved it went right to Batman Beyond, but it just never. I don't know.
It's a continuation. Like it's a direct continuation.
Yeah, I never trusted a Terry McGinnis. Didn't trust him. Transitioning from a studio that doesn't know what to do with their brands to a studio that clearly knows exactly what to do with their brands. The Pokémon Presents from this morning. This is Pokemon Day, the 29th Pokemon Day, which next year, 30th anniversary, that's going to be a biggie. I'm telling you.
What?
Mark your calendars.
How long has February 27th been Pokemon Day?
I mean, this is the day Pokemon Red and Green came out in Japan originally.
Okay.
29 years ago. I don't think it was like celebrated.
No, because Nintendo did
the first couple years.
Nintendo did a very clever thing in making March 10th Mario Day.
Oh, sure, like the May the 4th kind of thing.
Yeah, like they just latched onto that, and I thought that was brilliant. I was like, I support this. But then Pokemon Day seems kind of out of left field. But if it's celebrating an anniversary, I can get behind that.
Yeah, it's celebrating an anniversary, and they had a quick little 20-minute presentation. They showed off a couple things, some additions coming to the Pokemon card game Pocket. They announced the second season of Pokemon Concierge on Netflix, a new battle-centric game called Pokemon Champions that is mobile and Switch, and you can like bring your Pokemon from Pokemon Home or from Pokemon Go into that. I don't want to yada that, but I felt like kind of yadaing it all. Because the big thing was they showed off the gameplay from Pokemon Legends ZA. This is the follow up to Pokemon Legends Arceus. They showed this off last year, Pokemon Day. We haven't seen anything since. But they showed this off, and it is a sort of a spiritual successor / remake to Pokemon X and Y in the same Parisian city, and definitely looks like it's taking that like kind of real time action heavy combat of Legends Arceus and kind of taking it to the next level. This is releasing later this year, still on Switch and Switch 2. I thought this looked pretty cool personally. Like, I like the idea that this game mostly takes place in a single city, like a big sprawling city. I think you could do a lot of cool stuff with that, and I liked the bones of Pokemon Legends. I thought it was a little rough under the hood, but I thought an interesting idea was there for, you know, not a mainline Pokemon game, but an interesting offshoot. Javed, you're a big Pokemon guy, right? Did you what's with that at all?
I love Pokemon. I was there when Pokemon came out back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I had Pokemon Blue. That was my guy. Quick story. I was proudly the guy who was transferring the starter Pokemons to everyone else at lunchtime at school. So I'd have to play through, get a Squirtle, save the game, transfer it, then I have to start again, get a Squirtle, give it to the next guy, you know. But I like that was part of my history, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
But Pokemon means a lot to me. I will just correct you, Marty. I think it might be Arceus, not Arceus.
What did I say? Arceus? There's really no way to know. There's really no. Oh no, this is like the Killian Cillian thing. Darren's gonna be so mad at me. This better not be Irish.
Yeah, but I think I loved Legends when it came out. It was the first Pokemon game in a while where I felt quite connected into the world. Like there was a sense of dread, you know, because I think you could get physical harm. That was the whole thing, right? Was like you as a person, as the trainer, could go out and get hurt directly from these wild Pokemon. Because the story was like, it was like 500 years ago or something, or something like that, when Pokeballs were just being invented and friends and like humans and Pokemon weren't friends yet. And so I think that element was kind of cool, like seeing a really wild version of the Pokemon universe, and that sense of dread, like a real threat to getting hurt out in the wild. Like, I thought that relationship was really cool. But yeah, I didn't play the whole thing. It got a few things to it. I wasn't stoked.
I fell off eventually. Like, I enjoyed my 15 hours or whatever, and then I was like, I'm kind of done. I understand what's going on.
Yeah.
From the stuff that they showed of ZA, that's what they're calling it? Just ZA?
Yeah, Pokemon Legends ZA.
Okay, Legends ZA.
Unless I'm fucking up the pronunciation, because God knows I'm not pronouncing any of these games right.
Like, from what they showed, like the big expansive city, is there any way to tell if that's smaller than the open world of Arceus? Because Arceus seemed to suffer from them trying to make an open world thing using Pokemon's tech.
Sure.
Like, if they do maybe condense it a bit, maybe it won't be as janky.
Yeah,
is my hope. But like, I don't know if they kind of hinted at like the square footage, probably not, or if anyone figured it out from, you know, what they usually do.
It's just a 1-to-1 to Paris, including the catacombs of Pokemon are buried down there. Yeah, I think the part of the original Legends problem was the Switch had a tough time sort of rendering that open world, but also it was especially compared to a year or two later when we got Tears of the Kingdom, it just felt like a really boring open world. Like it felt like they were like, we're going to do an open world without kind of understanding the philosophy of what makes an open world exciting to explore. Like what makes you want to climb that hill or follow that river or go into those shrubs and see what's going on. So that's one thing I'm hoping, especially if this had like a bit of an elongated development cycle and obviously a lot more time with the Switch hardware. I'm hoping that this is like a step up from the following one. I know Game Freak and the Pokemon Company have lost a lot of goodwill in terms of their release schedule and kind of seemingly not really giving too much of a shit if a game launches in kind of a lackluster state. Because
I think we're forgetting. I'm not saying you are forgetting, but Pokemon Violet had the same issues. It ran really.
Oh
bad.
no, absolutely, yeah, and
that was after Arceus. So.
That's right, yeah. But you know, a different team. So yeah, we'll see. And then
Violet had the same issue where its open world just was flat. I mean, it wasn't flat, but it was just boring. There wasn't anything to really find or do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care. I don't care about the graphics in Pokemon game, really. I'm not looking for it to be realistic or whatever. I really just want it to run well, and like the core gameplay loop is always fun. But yeah, like the open world if you're gonna do an open world, it's gotta be, I want to be going on adventures and exploring, and like you felt like that. I felt like that when I played Emerald back in the day and finding, the Reggies and Rayquaza and all the puzzles to get to those things and everything. And so far in both of these games, there hasn't been any of that.
To be fair, you were also a child.
But even like to find those things, like in Pokemon Violet, like there's legendaries to find, not the legendaries. There's like some hidden bosses to find, and it's literally just load a cave and they're right there.
Yeah,
like there's no thought put into puzzles or anything to make it more engaging. That's what I would like to see, is take a lot of that gameplay thought that goes into those 2D games and bring it to 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think you can only really get the legendaries after you get past all the dialogue.
Yeah. That's the true legendary in the game. Yeah, I do. I always feel like I'm chasing the high of Pokemon Blue. That was also the one I chose. But I need to be cognizant that I was 10, and nothing's gonna wow me like that game did when I was 10 years old.
I played through Yellow when it dropped.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And every Pokemon after that felt exactly the same.
That being said, if they give me a sick ass remake of Gen 1 next year for the 30th anniversary, Machi, I'm there. I'll buy every color of the rainbow.
They're one of the other creature collector series that's really picked up steam over the last few years. Nexomon. They're working on their third game, which is going full 3D open world, and it looks way prettier and way more interesting.
I'm intrigued by that.
I can't get into those. I don't want to call them knockoffs, but like, I don't know.
Nexomon is good. Nexomon has funny writing, and the combat is really good.
As long as they are doing something different, I can muster up the excitement, because I love the concept of Pokemon, but like it's only ever been expressed in like a new way in Power World, in all honesty. Like Power was a ton of fun to play around with that Pokemon formula, but like without all the restrictions that Nintendo's Pokemon usually has, because a lot of the other non-Nintendo Pokemon-esque games follow way too closely to the Pokemon formula. Like they're afraid to iterate on it, probably because they'll get sued like Power World did. Yeah.
I think my problem is I get this a lot with games trying to emulate what Zelda does. I can handle them, and I even really like them when they really do feel like they have an identity of their own, like Okami or like even Immortals Phoenix Rising, which I'm still bummed we're never going to follow up on. But when it's like an indie game where it's like so clearly that character looks like Link, it looks like a world like Hyrule, your sword looks like the Master Sword. To me, it's just like, oh, this just feels like store brand Zelda, and I have Zelda at home. Why do I want this if you're not really doing anything different with it? And especially because Nintendo just keeps making these games. It's not like this is a dormant franchise like Mother or anything.
This is the only way to get that fix. Like the king is still on the throne.
Yeah.
I put quite a few hours in Nexomon 2. I really actually liked it, and the writing was actually very funny. It's very satire heavy on the whole genre. And then another one that's lesser known, but I still think really good, is Koromon. And that one has like a lot of. I think Casey, you tried it, maybe.
Yeah, I tried that for a Hidden Gems. I want to say.
Yeah, but it's got like a lot of interest in like fusion kind of mechanics.
I don't know. Where's my? They don't spark that joy Pokemon does. Give me Monster Rancher. Bring Monster Rancher back. Let me put in my fucking CDs and see what's going on in there.
That Pokemon art style is just, it just. I think it just it's been around for so long. It just evokes those emotions that you get from playing those games.
Yeah, it's a lot of rose-colored nostalgia.
Yeah.
Stuff for.
Sure. Yeah, I'm
I
totally
cognizant
love
that I'm
music.
Like I love Pikachu's look.
Yeah, even the music in like all these creature collector games like apes Pokemon music. Like it's so they really do need to get away from it. Cassette Beast is like the first one I think that get away from that and do something really different.
Yeah.
I think one thing that did stand out to me in the video was just being reminded how big Pokemon is. Because I play the Pokemon Pocket, like the card game, the app. I've been playing it for like a couple of months now. I love it. But then just seeing footage of like, I think it was like the Mexico was like they had like a Mexico segment, and they had all these shots of like hundreds of people playing the physical games. I think I was just reminded of just how big it is, because I think I do forget just how global
biggest
this
IP
whole
in the
thing
world.
Yeah. If you think back to, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say that excites me. Like seeing how big it is. There's something exciting about a community, and I think that's what Pokemon has going for it. It's just this massive.
Yeah.
Well, you're not cynical enough yet.
Yeah. No, I think back to, what was it, 2016, the summer of 2016, when Pokemon Go came out. Like that is one of my favorite, and living in San Francisco at the time, and how like that game took over that city in a way that's like, it was insane. Literally everyone was looking down at their phone and they were catching fucking
it was the same around here. Like
cool. It was cool as hell.
People were
now
taking
they're selling all your data to the Saudi Arabians.
That's fine, whatever. I don't have any, my data's not interesting at all.
It was a ruse.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a cool moment, and yeah, we'll see. Obviously, we'll have more on Legends throughout the year. We'll see if anything else gets announced when Nintendo has their big Switch 2 shebang in a little over a month now, April 2nd, which I'm very excited for. Cool. Before we move on to our main topic of Monster Hunter and the stuff we've been playing, we got a couple super chats throughout the stream that I just want to touch on quick. Inverse Skies with $3 Australian. Thank you so much, Inverse Skies. Chat wants to know about pickleball, Nick. Nick, you get 10 seconds to talk about
so
pickleball.
It actually got delayed till next week. So I think
Son of a bitch.
Did they have a good reason?
Out of pickles.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the court got infested with pickle juice.
Sorry, guys. There's still cucumbers. Gotta wait.
Still cucumbers. You gotta wait a week.
And then I was gonna still like go play, and then I was like, oh yeah, after 6 o'clock it gets dark out. So
they don't got lights.
Well, it's also cold.
No,
that doesn't. That's not how light works.
That's not how light works. Jewel Rao with a €2 dono. Thank you so much, Jewel. Thanks for the documentary. We'll watch it later today. Thank you so much, Jewel. Appreciate all you who are watching it. Corvus with a $5 dono. Oh no, I'm saving Corvus because Corvus is talking about Monster Hunter. Sorry, Corvus. I'm saving you. No, Corvus is the second one. I'm back to Corvus. I'm back to Corvus. $5 dono. Also for Nick, since you're the resident Halo fan, have you ever gotten into the quote fashion thing that people do for Halo, Destiny, and the like? Are you talking about like
wear clothes
Destiny
in real life?
No, I think like Destiny, like.
Oh, like
no,
like getting loot to dress your character a certain way.
Yeah. Like, do you care about what your character looks like in a Halo game?
Yeah.
You never got like that flaming ninja head?
Oh yeah, got that
helmet.
Yeah. But then when you ask me to do it in every game, like no.
Sure. I like that's why I like third person games over first person games, because I want my character to look sick as hell and I want to see them.
I did like when they made the color palette swaps free in Destiny, because they used to try to charge you for those.
Mm.
So that was
really
nice.
quick. What do we think about Cowboy Bebop being in Fortnite? Little part of me died.
Ooh,
I don't
what?
care, but a little part of me died. Cowboy Bebop's in Fortnite.
Did they announce that today?
I don't know. I saw it.
I
Maybe it's
don't feel
fake.
like that's super egregious because those characters actually use guns. I think I died inside when Ryu and Chun-Li were announced.
What
before
about
that, 'cause,
what
like,
about Space Jam 2's LeBron James?
LeBron's a human being in the real world. He probably owns a gun.
Ooh, that's an
But
interesting topic. Do we think LeBron owns a gun?
That man has a lot of money. He
He
probably
does
owns
have
a
a
gun.
lot of money.
They all have
But like
secret
Ryu
bunkers in
is
their
a
home.
master of unarmed combat.
Sure,
Like,
sure.
what are we doing?
Well, I mean, what was he supposed to do? Just like machine gun Hadoukens at people?
It would work.
Fortnite.
That is true. They got like Goku and Naruto. Yeah.
Fortnite's ability to collect these IPs is pretty incredible. It's got everything I can think of at this point. Solid Snake.
Yeah.
He's in that.
The Pokemon
Fucking Rick and
IPs.
Morty.
Yeah.
Like humans,
Wick.
rappers. Like what?
Literally
Just very
ran
weird.
political elections in the game.
Remember when they had like the Hall of Martin Luther King you could
Yeah.
run through in Fortnite?
That was an interesting experiment, but like, why?
Agreed. I agree. This
Why
probably shouldn't be
here?
in Fortnite.
Our
Probably
next-
somewhere
our
else.
next,
Yeah.
Instead of mail-in voting, you're gonna have to load up Fortnite.
Honestly, we're not that
If
far.
only, because that would expand voter rights. That's not what they're interested in.
Yeah, you're right. Well, no, it wouldn't, because you would need, if rural, you would need good internet to download it fast enough to get in.
You need to fucking
Starlink
win.
it.
You need to be the last one standing in order to cast your vote. True Mando with a $2 dono. Thanks so much, True Mando. Javed, that Metal Gear doc was beautiful. Bravo, sir. I agree. What a
Thank
good
you.
vid. What a good vid. S6 with 10 Australian dollars. Thank you so much, S6. I need a simple website where I can enter my favorite games, get a list of all the devs who worked on those games, and where they work now. Follow the devs, not the studio.
Moby
Like there's
Games.
Moby Games-ish, but like Moby Games isn't great with that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Eric just put up a LinkedIn thing. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know.
We'll
Like
go to
the idea,
LinkedIn.
like the idea of like an IMDb, right? To where you could be like, oh, what did this DP shoot?
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
like
they're-
a wiki thing
people's
that's just branching.
Game credits are listed on IMDb.
yeah, the problem is if you work on a thing and it gets canceled,
Secret.
you're not allowed to
Yeah.
put that in your resume a lot of
Yeah.
times. So it's just like a weird void where it's like for 7 years I worked on blank, but trust me, it was neat. Which is fucked up. Fungus Finder with a $2 dono. Thank you so much, Fungus Finder. Shout out to scouring the house for every single CD. I assume you're talking about Monster Rancher, which I appreciate that.
Monster Rancher.
Yeah, where you put you get your different Pokemon by putting in a different CD, and every CD
Mhm.
gives you a different Pokemon. It was
That's
very
such a
weird.
wild concept.
It was
Like,
so weird.
that's so good. I love.
Yeah.
They eventually made it so like you could scan barcodes too, right?
Yeah.
Or was that a different thing? Was that also Monster Rancher?
I think they eventually got there. I feel like that took away the mystique.
Of like, yeah, because what is the CD going to produce? But the barcode
Yeah.
was saying because it was like anything, like a can of beans would scan his barcode. What's
My
gonna give you-
theory was that that
Yeah.
was going to be a big thing.
Holy shit, I do remember
The
that.
selling point of the Switch 2, because in Breath of the Wild, the what do they call the tablet? The Sheikah Slate
Sheikah Slate, yeah.
is like pretty much a Switch. So like they developed that game, and like the Sheikah Slate is like a Switch. And so Tears of the Kingdom come out, and you get a Sheikah Slate, and it has different abilities. And one of the abilities is you could take pictures of enemies, and then they turn into those like statues it's in Terrytown or somewhere, to where you're able to like put 3D models of enemies you've taken pictures, and they appear in the world. And I was like, this is going to be something the Switch 2 could do. I'm going to be able to take pictures of shit around my house, and I'm going to be able to put it in the game. And then I remembered when they wanted to do that for Perfect Dark, to where you could take a picture using the Game Boy camera and put that
right.
face inside the game. And I think Miyamoto saw that and was like, we cannot allow this. this will not stand. And so I was like, I don't know. I don't
Found
know.
that so fast.
Yeah.
Eric, you're amazing, man.
It's shocking. Like I said, he's a couple minutes ahead of us. I don't understand
Oh my
how. but he is.
God.
Not the same, but remember how big Skylanders and Disney Infinity were supposed to be?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Toys
for
for
a quick
Life.
minute. Yeah, that was
Mhm.
huge.
Toys to Life. Toys for Life.
Yeah,
Toys for
I
Bob.
remember. Yeah, Twister Pop. God, I remember getting the review
R.I.P.
units for all those Skylanders games. Like, what do I do with this? Like, I'm too old for this. I'm in college.
I had so many Lego Dimension things, and I was like, I don't even like these. Like, why
I
are
bought a
these here?
stupid Skylanders bundle Wii U
Oh, no.
for our Black Friday because that's all that was there. I literally threw all the Skylander stuff in the trash.
Oh.
Like I just chucked it all because all I wanted was the Wii U because Smash was coming.
Yeah, I remember getting the review units for those because like it was when early on in my games media days, like I wasn't getting Call of Duty review copies yet. But then without requesting it, they would send me Skylanders. Like, I don't want this shit. I want guns.
There's a lot of the leftover Skylanders in like thrift shops.
Yeah, they're really sad. That's the thing is like Amiibo are still kind of expensive, and I can't talk any shit because literally there's just like $1,000 worth of Amiibo.
Like I would
just on
still
the
buy
shelves.
Amiibo if they were regular price, but I think just the base price has just gone up. They used to be like 15. I can't find one for under 20 something. And like they're whack ones. Like the ones I don't want are 20 something.
I don't want a me fighter. Who wants this fool? And then finally, Corvus, going back to you with the $5 dono, said, I haven't played Monster Hunter since Freedom Unite on the PSP. Is Wilds a good place to start for a modern one? We finally gotten there. It only took us an hour and 17 minutes. Casey, you have played over 40 minutes of Monster Hunter Wilds.
That's true. I have played over 40 minutes.
Dude, 40 hours, shit. You've also played over 40 minutes. That wasn't
both things are true.
Yes. Do you think this is a good starting point for someone who may be somewhat of a novice or a lapsed Monster Hunter player? And then broadly, what did you think of Monster Hunter Wilds?
Yeah, to answer the question, and I think I've said this before, I think this might be the best starting point. Like, Capcom has successfully broken into the West with World several years ago, back. And then again, they kind of followed that World formula, but condensed it to make it like more bite-sized because it was on the Switch initially in Rise. But Wilds specifically seems like we didn't get everybody with World. Like there were still some people who were holding out. So this next one is for them because we got everybody else. Like we don't have to convince anybody else. This next one is for the holdouts. And to that effect, a lot of things that even the people who have been converted did find annoying, but like looked past it because like the meat of the gameplay is really, really good. Like I think it actually raises the ship in terms of like just an introduction to the franchise and just a much smoother single player experience. Because what used to take like 30 to 40 hours to get through the first section, like the low rank they call it section, before you can actually start getting to the game's meat and challenge and whatnot, is now like 15 hours. And it's a way more cohesive story. It doesn't like force you to do a lot of tutorialized stuff because there are tons of mechanics in Monster Hunter. Like they've been building them up over decades, but they hold off on showing you like more intricate things like the ability to capture monsters or the way you can dig into your loadouts or using gems in loadouts and whatnot. They save all of that till after you roll credits. So like that first 15 hours is just introducing you to weapons, introducing you to like the core loop of I'm going to ride out into the wilderness. I'm going to find a monster. I'm going to fight a monster. And then giving you like really amazing high production value cutscenes to introduce you to the beasties that you're going to be fighting. And then giving you like very cinematic fights with them. And the difficulty suffers for that. So like if you're coming off of any of the older ones, especially like hours and hours and hours of the older ones, you're going to feel how much easier it is to, like a lot of people I saw other reviews were complaining that they didn't like get carded when you die and get shipped off by the palicos.
I thought you meant carded like trying to get into a bar.
No, like they literally dump you back at the home spot from a cart because you passed out in the field. But like folks were saying like they didn't get carded for like the entire campaign. And that's unusual because Monster Hunter games are challenging, especially within that campaign leading to the end game stuff. But this time they hold back. They allow you to get through it all. And I don't think that's bad. Like I still enjoyed it because the mechanics that are on display are intuitive and fun, and they make the weapons just shy of being just as fun as they were in the previous games. Like, and I only say that because I am an absolute mark for the nonsense that they put in Rise with all the high flying wire bug shit. Like characters just flipping all over the place, grappling, hooking the sky. Like it's insane. It's bonkers. I love it. A lot of people didn't. But Wilds makes it's really more so a sequel to World than Rise ever was, because it feels grounded, it feels big, feels cinematic, and it's just really, really fun. So like I had a great time. It's so streamlined in a lot of ways that like anyone who has the slightest bit of interest, I think, will find what that secret sauce is by playing through this.
Yeah, it sounds like for me, because I liked Worlds, but it did feel like too grindy too soon.
Yeah. Like there are skill checks in World that like I'm sure a ton of people just hopped right off. Like Kieran, that big ass unicorn, who just like that's still in the main story, and he will whoop your ass. Like, but it's fun. Like you learn to get through it.
As someone who has never played a Monster Hunter game, do I need to like catch up on the story to understand what's happening here, or like...
Absolutely not.
Okay, right.
Not even a little.
Like it doesn't connect or anything.
Like it's very, and it's funny because Marty keeps making references to like, oh, fake ass Chocobo this, da, da, da. Like it's very similar to Final Fantasy in that way.
Yeah.
Like the worlds are related in terms of like iconography and like archetypes, but they're completely different locations, completely different characters, completely different stories. But the monsters are the same. The items
Is there
are
a
the same.
timeline? Like, you know how people argue over the Zelda timeline? Like, is there a Monster Hunter timeline?
Like, I'm sure like the true diehards who have been playing like since the beginning have pieced together something, but I wouldn't ascribe any real lore connection to any of the games.
Yeah.
Like, maybe there are like Easter eggs here and there, but like it does not matter. Like, it's not anything to concern yourself with story wise.
Sure.
And in terms of the story, like this is partially in the video that's coming out tomorrow, I think. Is that like they're fine. Like you get big cinematic moments from the console-based Monster Hunter games like World and Rise. But like you don't really remember much of the story. Like it's there to just cart you through until you get to the end game. This game story actually tries a lot harder to be compelling in a lot of ways. And it's still not great. Like it's not revolutionary in terms of storytelling, but for a Monster Hunter game, it's actually really good. Like they've stepped up a lot of just the appeal of their narrative, how their characters interact with each other, and just the arcs for those characters, and even some of the monsters that are featured throughout that story as well. So like I really enjoyed it, and I really like the message that it left me with by the end of its run.
Yeah, from your video, I really like the idea of how there's kind of a I don't know if a focus, but the game touches on the idea of these like different cultures having to come together and like form a community and realize that it like takes a village to survive or to fucking crush these monsties, which I think is pretty cool.
Like these games have always been outstanding at building like a very realistic ecosystem. Like this world out here and these creatures out here all connect in this very realistic way. Like it's very inspired by the actual natural world. But they kind of stop short when it comes to the characters. It's like, well, we're all in this one town and we're kind of the only people here. And like maybe they'll allude to there's something going on in the East or some other country in the West, but like there's not a ton of that. Like Rise had you in like a very Japanese styled place. And then his DLC introduces you to a very European styled place that kind of intersects. Like, hey, we're from this place and we're hanging out with you guys now. But Wilds is like, there's a bunch of different cultures out here. Like they all are on this continent that your people have never been to. And so they're learning about you and what you guys are about, and you're learning about them. And they have to teach you about the world that you're in because you are brand new there. And like, I found that very interesting.
Is the story better than the Monster Hunter movie?
Everything is better than the Monster Hunter.
I disagree.
Much.
I think the Monster Hunter movie pushes above its weight or punches above its weight class.
I like the look of the monsters, and I love Tony Jaa.
So
this is why you should be in our $50 tier because we watched that trash together.
No, watching the movie with and that was fun, but that was not a great movie. Yeah. It's better than Borderlands. Borderlands is a worse movie than the Monster Hunter movie.
Agreed. That was no fun. Do you think? So it seems like this is a great entry point for lapsed players, for novices, for noobs, for folks like us who've been maybe like, ooh, maybe I should jump in now, like Javed and I. Yeah. Do you think the hardcore of the hardcore, the crustiest of the crusties, do you think they're also going to get like, is that end game there for them to be able to really dig in?
I genuinely do. And the thing is, it just might take a while for them to start feeling pushed. But what Capcom also does, and like the hardcore people will know this, is over time they release more stuff. Like the actual like hard mode for Monster Hunter is always released after the fact. Like they usually call it G rank or master rank or whatever. So that's coming. So like as much as they are maybe put off by how easy this title is, all they have to do is wait. Like they can keep grinding, get their sets, do whatever they need to do. They already have a single monster coming in the spring. Mitsushina, I think, like the little bubble dragon from Rise. They'll be making an appearance. So like they'll be introducing more monsters, more stuff. Like it will get harder, especially if they complain about it. Like I feel like Capcom in particular, and the Monster Hunter franchise in particular, they listen. Like during the first beta,
we'll make you suffer.
yeah, like don't get it twisted. Capcom knows how to turn them numbers up.
Remember in
Like,
Peace Walker when you had to kill a bunch of those monsters in Metal Gear? That was rad.
We had to.
Nick got angry and left. That's fine.
What happened?
He got mad that I brought up Peace Walker. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He sides with Konami. He doesn't side with Kojima.
Oh man.
Discord completely crash.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
you're back.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard me say what I said, but I said Capcom. Like, you want to ask Capcom to make you suffer? They'll make you suffer.
Yeah, like I have no doubt that they can reach those highs again.
Mhm.
They just wanted to cool things out to let the newbies in, and then once the newbies get hooked, then they're gonna turn up all the heat. Like I'm convinced of it, so I wouldn't worry.
That's smart on them. Yeah, I was saying this before we went live. I think this will be the best. This will be the biggest best-selling game, I think, of the first 6 months of the year. Obviously, stuff like Pokemon will come along, Call of Duty. If a Mario Kart game comes out, Grand Theft Auto comes out. I'm just naming all the games I have in my. I need those games, but-
Was it? Yeah, I put Fable on my chart. I think so. I already got screwed
yeah,
hard.
you get a
yeah,
goose egg for
yours
that,
got
my friend.
delayed.
You got a
Yeah,
goose egg.
this was another. What was it? 19 points for my fantasy draft.
Yeah,
'cause
because
Kingdom
Kingdom
Come-
89.
Yeah, Kingdom Come hit 19, and then this hit 19.
If you don't play Kingdom Come, you don't deserve the game.
Yeah.
So you have to play the entirety of the game.
Look, as a
Yeah.
publisher, I don't have to play my game. That's my right.
You do the same thing. Yeah, I can't argue that. I did the same thing with Avatar 2. As the publisher of James Cameron's Avatar 2, I didn't feel a need to see the movie.
Yeah, as the owner of the league, I'm gonna wipe those points from you.
That's
not how that
corruption.
Fake
That is
fan.
corruption.
You know what?
Roger
The United
Goodell.
States is completely okay with corruption right now, so I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
proud of it.
I'm gonna hop on that trend.
Yeah. Corruption is in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, corruption is in.
Corruption's in. It's in the hot or not list this year.
I'm gonna instead of my shill hat, I'm gonna get a corruption hat.
Geldon with a $2 dono with a great question. Thank you so much, Geldon. So is a Monster Hunter Wilds a good open world game?
Yeah, is it open world or is it zones?
It is technically open world, but the zones are like they're like corridors that lead you from like one zone to another. So you
With no
don't
loading
generally.
screen?
There's no loading screen, no. But
Oh.
like, but they feel separated by terrain. Like you have to go through like a canyon pass to like get from like the
So
early
loading
area
screen.
to like the next area.
Yeah, that's cool though.
So but honestly, like it depends on like what do you need from an open world, because like the individual biomes are one, massive, and two, like they're dynamic. Like they don't stay the same the whole time. Like there are seasons, and like different weather will like change what's happening in specific biomes over time.
That's cool. I like that.
So like yes, it's a good open world game, but like I don't like
I
they
think
made it
they're- I
open
think they're
world
meaning,
almost
like,
as if
If
Say
there's
again?
like hidden I think they mean it like are there hidden areas to find or secrets, but that's not really Monster Hunter.
I mean there are though. Like
Well, yeah, the secret monsters to find and all that, just not.
no, like
stories.
even like
Oh, really?
they're like secret like fishing spots, for example. Like you'll crawl in a cave and find like a place where you can set up a pop-up camp
Oh, cool.
that keeps you safe, or like gives you like a little checkpoint from an area where a monster probably like roams through. So like it's a good checkpoint if you get carded by that monster in the future or something like that. So like, and all the games have had stuff like that. It's just they're specific to their biome. So like a lot of that still just exists, but the spaces are huge. Like the first area, the second area. There's a couple more after that. They get less like the earlier ones are probably the most interesting visually. But the later ones, they still work as just interesting places to have fights in.
Over in the $5 tier at the Patreon, Ultras wanted to know what weapon do you main?
If you guys know anything about me, it's the bow.
You like a bow and you like its arrow.
It's a bow, yeah. But that being said, I probably actually main like half of the weapons on offer. Like I switch between the great sword, the long sword, the dual blades, the insect glaive, the switch axe, and I don't know if I'm missing
everything.
any other ones. It's not everything because
what
there are a lot of
It's
weapons.
not the gun.
Give me a jump weapon.
I don't
What's the worst
mess
weapon?
with the bow guns. I don't like bow guns. Like I don't want to be third person shooting in my hunting game. That feels wrong to me.
Using a bow and arrow, it's the same thing.
A bow and arrow is not the same as a bow gun. A bow gun is like you hold the
Free bow
trigger
gun?
and firing.
Oh, sorry, you pull the trigger on bow.
Yeah, you pull. Yeah, it's completely different.
Yeah,
Put your
I
upper
think it's
body into it.
completely different. I think
It's
a bow and
completely
arrow
different.
is-
This motion,
Oh,
like this
no.
whole dragging across it, like that takes upper body strength. I'm just
Marty-
working out my index. Is that
Jesse
think
Galena
LeBron
isn't here. We
James
don't
has a
need
bow
to
and
have
arrow?
this fight. We don't need to have this fight. Jesse Galena's not here right now.
No, I've disagreed with Casey twice this week. This and the Outcast thing are the first disagreements ever.
that outcast fight? It's pending.
That is pending.
It's coming.
I've reached out to Andre 3000 and Big Boy. I have yet to hear back.
No response.
You have a big beefy video on this that should be going up tomorrow afternoon, which I'm excited for folks to be able to check out. And will in theoretically the time slot we did Metroid last night, we will be using for Monster Hunter next week
Yeah,
with some real Monster Hunter pros. It's not
yeah.
me.
Jess and
None of
Jay,
us.
I think, will be joining us, and hopefully Marty will get his feet wet
Stick that
in Monster
Get my-
Spit.
Get my beak wet in Monster Spit. Oh, oh no. Are you going to be playing more? Like you're going to keep?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like
I'm gonna.
This is one because a lot of times we finish reviewing a game, we got to go on the next one. But like this is it. This is like your game for a little while.
Yeah, and like I feel like I'm glad I got to play it for review and write about it and stuff. But like my friends play Monster Hunter too, so like when they when the game unlocks for them, it's like, oh shit, you're like you're like 40 hours deep.
Yeah. How does that
Yeah,
work? Do you have to like roll a new character? Or can
I
you just
probably I might. Yeah, maybe I'll just do that. And then what
Yeah.
I'll do on the new character is actually mess with some weapons that maybe I haven't touched at all.
like a gun?
Not the gun, but like maybe the what's the hunting horn. Maybe I'll mess with that. Or like the
Guns
the
are-
lance.
Ooh, that's cool. I was gonna say
Yeah.
guns are also in 2025. Guns and corruption.
Guns and corruption.
the big two.
Javed's over there like, I'm glad I'm way over here in Australia.
I mean, Javed, you've been experiencing a little bit of American guns and corruptions through Red Dead 2.
Oh, dude, what a segue!
Right, that was
It
masterful.
was pretty good. It's pretty good. And my favorite part of segues are pointing them out and kind of like grinding to a halt,
Ruining
it. just like chilling in it a little bit. Is this your first time playing Red Dead 2?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, it's my second attempt to play
Okay.
it. The first time was a few years ago. I just finished Tears of the Kingdom,
Mhm.
and I was kind of open worlded out. You know what I mean? Like I was just, I got past the tutorial phase in Red Dead, and then kind of hit the open world kind of segment, and I just realized I was just exhausted. I was like, I don't want to have to learn another world. But I'm back on it again, and I'm going through the tutorial just to like get used to the controls and stuff again, and I am enjoying it. I think my headspace is better this time around, so yeah, I'm into it.
That matters
Yeah,
a lot.
you're not coming off another massive generational open world game. So I think that sort of timing helps there. Red
Yeah.
Dead is also that game. It is wild how well it has aged, or just feels like it hasn't aged since
I
2018
actually
in
loaded it up.
7 years.
I just
It
loaded
is
it up a couple weeks ago on
incredible.
PC, and it
Yeah.
feels like a next gen game still.
Yeah,
Actually, it feels more like a next gen game than most games that are next gen. to be
Yeah.
honest.
Well,
No, no.
it was PS4.
GTA
but
6 is insane.
I'm playing it on my PS5, but it's a
Mhm.
PS4 game. I'm wondering if they did any like upgrades to it or anything to kind of like make it look better on PS5 or something.
Nope.
It looks so flipping good. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If your PC can run it, go load it up on PC, and then you'll feel like you're playing a brand new
My
game.
PC cannot run it.
Yeah. Okay. Stick with
My
your
PC can
PS4.
barely run these Next Fest demos if I'm being.
I'm barely running this chat right now.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm thinking about in the lead up to GTA 6 doing a big ol' Rockstar replay. I've never played GTA 5.
Really?
I
I mean, I only played it last year.
I
but
own
finally
several
finished it last
copies
year.
of it. I've never played it. But I
That
love
is
GTA 3,
fascinating.
Vice City, San Andreas 4, the 4 DLC. I loved Red Dead 1, Red Dead 2. I even loved Red Dead Revolver. But yeah, I've been thinking about doing a big old beefy replay of all those before 5 or before 6. Ending with Red Dead 2.
What are you doing?
What are you talking about? How is it even legal to play 5 without the numbers beforehand?
First of all,
GTA
you
London?
have played the numbers beforehand. You just said so. The only one
Dude,
you
it was
haven't
so
played is
long
five.
ago. I don't remember
Just play
anything.
5. What are you doing?
I don't remember
has-
anything.
He has replayitis.
First off, there's nothing wrong with replayitis. Replayitis is very nice. Also, please help at the $5 tier over in Patreon. Thank you so much. Please help. I just started the Mass Effect trilogy for the first time, and I am loving it so far. How do you guys / Aseka Win crew at large feel about patient gaming? It feels like Marty at least likes to replay and revisit classics. Does anybody else on the team have a nostalgia bug or like to look through the archives or the dumpsters when deciding on the next thing to play? Thank you so much. Please help for chiming in at the right time.
That's not patient gaming. That's patient gaming is playing a game you waited to play that you've never played before.
Well, that's what
But
that's what
they
Please Help
did,
is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing that the last couple of years with my backlogs. You know, I usually, during the course of the year, just because of the way games media works, you kind of got to play the newest things to have, things to talk about. But then towards the end of the year, I start going through my backlog, catching up on games. So yeah, I mean, if you go back and look through my gaming lists that I have up on Blue Sky, like I've played a bunch of games over the years that I didn't get around to when they originally came out. But I've had a hard time like going back to PS2 era games, even PS2, PS1 era games. As much as I want to, like I want to replay the Jack and Daxter series, I want to replay Ratchet and Clank, but I don't know. Mostly for me, it's just the profession just makes it too hard to like find the time to do it.
Mm.
For me, I went back to my old hardware, and
Yes.
I was playing Oracle of
You have
Seasons
the light.
recently, and I bought a light so I can like look at it
Does
from
that still work? Does that still work?
Yeah, it still works.
What?
Check it out.
Oh, that's much brighter than I expected.
That's
to.
wildly. That's like brighter than my key light right now.
Yeah, it might be like a next gen light, but
God,
But
that
see-
just brought
well, see-
back so many memories. That light.
I was,
Trying
I
to
was
hide
playing,
under your comforter and having it like poke out, and your parents are like, "What are you doing under there?"
I was playing Pokemon Blue, but the battery went out halfway through, and I feel like that's happening everywhere now. Like all the old games from the '90s are like the battery inside's starting to
They're reaching
fizzle out.
limits.
Yeah. I'm gonna be really depressed when like my childhood saves on like Super Nintendo and Game Boy cards start leaving.
I had Super Nintendo carts in the 90s die. Like my copy of Super Mario World would not save. So me and my little brother, anytime we booted it up, would beat it
Gotta start
again.
from the beginning. Gotta start Yoshi's Island. See what's going on.
It was just broken.
Yeah,
Oh man,
I love that.
But yeah, I'm similar to Nick, where like I absolutely used to be that. Like I wouldn't get to the biggest stuff until way later. I would read about all the stuff, like I would watch the have the magazines, go on websites or whatever. But then like I'd use like old games, sell them into GameStop to like get the money for the newest hot thing way later, and I had to get it used. And then when GameFly was a thing, I used a lot of GameFly to play a bunch of stuff that I'd missed.
Yep.
But then once I entered the industry, like I couldn't anymore. Like I just didn't have the time and bandwidth to go back as often as I would like. Because I still have a huge backlog too. But it sucks. I cannot get to all the stuff I would really very much like to.
I kind of lied a little bit. I think I actually have the time to play those games, but I just get stuck on Balacho or Monster Train right now. So
This is why Balatro. I don't
games
want to
are
be the one
bad.
to say Balatro's bad. This is why Balatro's bad.
Yeah, I should have kept that age 18 rating just for addiction, not for gambling, just straight up addiction to the game.
Oh yeah.
Javed, what are your thoughts on Balatro? Where do you fall on this Balatro thing? I don't
Oh,
get it.
I haven't played it yet, so
Yeah, but I'm
I
not allowing you to play it with the thing we're working
No,
on.
there's
right
two
now.
types of people in the world. There's those who realize Animal Well should have won all the Game of Year awards last year and all the Indie awards last year, and then there's the rest of you Balatro fiends.
Yeah.
That's what's not. If Balatro didn't come out last year, I feel like Animal Well would have swept every Indie award.
That's why you don't want to play. You're just mad at it.
It's out of spite. It's out of spite. Because in Balatro, you can't throw a frisbee and ride it.
Okay, so
I
you felt
support
that
this
about
level of
Stray.
hate. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt
Yeah,
about
as the
Stray.
stray
Tunic was robbed.
How good is Tunic? Fuck.
It is so fucking good.
Oh,
Let's talk to what's
About
this
Tunic?
man's name? Andrew Schuldice. Let's talk to him. Let's get a documentary going about
Oh,
Tunic.
what's he gonna do next?
Right?
We,
I can't wait.
one of the cool things about, and maybe this is a beautiful full circle moment of this conversation, is I was talking to Billy about Tunic and how much Tunic influenced him or like encouraged him when it came to secrets and that type of game. That was pretty special because Tunic means a lot to me. Talking to Billy about Tunic, it was just like this.
Yeah, I love hearing
perfect thing.
devs talk about what games inspire them.
Yeah.
Which a lot of times you don't get. Like, this is sort of not that, but I always find it fascinating to hear Kojima talk about the art that inspires him because it's literally never games.
Yeah, it's always movies and
Like,
music and
There's a possibility Kojima's not played a game that he hasn't made in 20 years. Like, it is very possible. But he's always like, nope, I'm seeing Captain America 4 and I don't understand the story, which that was the funniest tweet ever, was him talking about how the Captain America 4 story is too convoluted.
he's like, when
I'm
did
like,
this happen? Did I
My brother
did I
in
miss
Christ, have you
something?
played Metal Gear?
If you play Death Stranding,
What are you doing? I'm so excited for Death Stranding 2. We're getting a release date soon. He's going to be South by Southwest in 2 weeks. They have a showcase, new trailer, release date. That's going to be this year. You know
did
it.
any of us put that on? I don't think any of us put that on our.
Get
Oh, you
the
did
fuck
put on
out of
yours?
here.
I couldn't remember if you did or
course I
not.
did.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you putting Metal
World's-
Gear on there, but yeah, I guess
World's
Kojima's
greatest
stand.
list. Corvus with a $2 dono. Thank you so much, Corvus. I will not stand for Balatro slander. I just don't get it.
Hey,
They
you know
keep
what?
adding stuff to it, and I don't get what that means. They're like, we got new Jokers, and I'm like, why do you need more Jokers?
It's on Game Pass now, so now you have to play it.
I already bought
just
it on
bro- I
my
just
phone,
broke
and I
you.
don't like it.
You bought it on your phone?
Yeah, because I wanted to try to like it. I like
Oh,
trying
so
to
you did
understand
you did
things.
try it.
Yeah, I don't get it. Listen, I've also watched Wallace and Gromit. I just don't get it. I've watched Mr. Bean. I just don't get it.
There were some comments on your Wallace and Gromit comment that people were very angry with you for not liking Wallace and Gromit.
It's fine. What are they gonna do? They're gonna fucking chase their dog through a factory, whatever those dumb movies are about. I don't care. I just don't get it.
That I think that's kind of what those movies are about. I don't know.
Listen, and that company's
couldn't
now
tell
doing
you.
that company's now doing a Pokemon animated series for Netflix. I'm gonna give
Oh,
that a
yeah.
try, but it's gonna be great because it's not gonna be chasing your dogs through factories. It's gonna be chasing your Arcane through a factory. Arcanine? Arcane?
Yeah. No. Yeah, there's a couple
Arcanine.
of them.
I think it's
Arcanine.
Arcanine. I think Arcane was the
Arcanine.
Arcane,
Yeah.
is,
So
Arcane is the
Arcanine, yeah.
League of Legends show.
Arcane is the League of Legends show, which that was pretty sick. Nick, you've been playing anything else before we do little wrap ups?
I've just been checking out a ton of Steam Next Fest demos. I'm going to talk about a lot of them tomorrow in my Unpacked video. But the one I wanted to highlight here, which actually we have them on podcast tomorrow for dev heads, is War Torn. So War Torn is from the lead designer on, I think, BioShock 2, if I'm correct. And it is a RTS that it feels like, the best way I can describe it is it's an RTS that mixes like the narrative structure of the Banner Saga, where like you're leading a caravan through really dangerous areas and all that. It has like actual characters with narrative, systemic combat, so like electricity and water mixed together, fire mixes together, like you gotta use water to put out fire, you can cause bigger fires with oil, all that kind of stuff. And then obviously it's an RTS, so it's top down and you control, different characters and try to strategize the best you can. but it really clicked for me almost immediately when I played it the other day, and I haven't had an RTS like that click for me in a long time. Where like the narrative, it's a roguelite as well, so the campaign, if you die, it resets, and then you upgrade things and get stronger as you go. It just was fun, like really, really tense combat throughout the entire thing, trying to keep people alive because you have to deal with all the elements and everything that are happening. So like you'll get spellcasters shooting fire at you, and then somebody threw oil on you, and now you're in big trouble. I love like when roguelike games really do a good job of like keeping that tension high, and then when you have victory, you feel like you really earned it, kind of thing, without being too random. So yeah, I'm really excited to play more of that. I'm excited to see them talk about it more on DevHeads tomorrow as well, because I do think that this game could be a game changer for smaller scale RTS games.
Hell yeah, yeah, that'll be a fun. That'll be a fun episode. Bill Gardner also, I believe he made an indie game called Perception a couple of years ago that I really liked.
Bill Gardner's not working on this.
Well, aren't I a liar? I thought that was the guy who was on the show tomorrow. Am I wrong?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, fuck it.
Somebody's going to be there.
Sometimes we're wrong. Really quick, there's a game coming out next week. Eric, I need you to pull up the footage. It's called Warm Monkey. Warm Monkey.
What?
Warm Monkey. I put it in the chat. I'm fucking obsessed with how the way this thing looks. Eric, let's pull up the Warm Monkey footage really quick. Check out this chip. And this is a little open world game where you're in like a South American city, and you're just a couple of monkeys running around, and you got to drink water to multiply. And let me tell you, it looks delightful. Its soundtrack is great. All sorts of weird monkey noises. So I'm going all in. I think the big game of next week is going to be Warm Monkey.
Did you also get a chance to try Deliver at All Costs?
Nothing about Warm Monkey. You gave me nothing about Warm Monkey. What is going on? Deliver at all costs. What is that? I might have that. Check out that monkey. Roll it back. Roll that monkey. Oh no, I guess we're here.
Deliver at all costs.
Oh yeah, the top down, the car driving one where you can destroy the shit out of stuff. I haven't downloaded it. I have not played it.
It's got like heavy GTA inspiration as well. Pretty fun. The writing is very funny. I think if you like really dumb satire, like I do about like kind of like corporate shenanigans, like this hits that. Which obviously that GTA inspiration in there.
Hell yeah.
So this game, the destruction is really fun. Like you can literally destroy everything. Like I was testing it just to see what would happen, and like there's some buildings. If you go to the bottom of the map, there's buildings on like overhanging over cliffs, and if you take out the stilts, build the entire building.
That's cool.
Come off the cliff.
That kind of destruction.
Yeah. So it runs through like destruction we don't get very often, except in like games like Red Faction Guerrilla, which where's my sequel to that isn't Armageddon.
And Crackdown 3. Don't forget about Crackdown 3. You're always forgetting about Crackdown 3.
Don't remind me about Crackdown 3.
Just wait on Crackdown 4 at this point.
I'm just waiting on Warm Monkey too.
You know what? Crackdown. You shouldn't have been able to fuck up Crackdown. Oh, the campaign for Crackdown 3 was fine, but
there was only one good Crackdown game. Is the secret? Crackdown 2 was bad, and Crackdown 3 was also bad.
Crackdown 1 is amazing.
Yeah.
Crackdown 1 is amazing.
We'll definitely have more recos on Next Fest games. Nick will have mentioned some on Unpack tomorrow, and then a bunch of us will have some blurbs and a little video of games that you should wish list that we all dug from Next Fest, including War Monkeys doesn't have an Next Fest demo, but I might try to sneak it in there and see if anyone says no.
Yeah,
I haven't played it, but
you haven't played it.
No, I haven't played it. I tried to email the developer and it pinged back at me. I don't know what happened there. Like I sent an email and then I just got my own email, and I was like, I don't know how that happened. So I'm gonna do some research tomorrow.
Oh, I've also put somehow I've never done this before. I have put 10 hours into the Monster Train 2 demo. I didn't know I could put 10 hours into a demo.
I think that's too much in a demo. Your progress doesn't even carry over. That's waste. That's empty calories.
Monster Train is real fucking addicting. Don't start it.
Is this?
Look how good.
This is a sequel?
Yeah, it's a sequel.
Okay, because one of my best friends got absolutely addicted to the first one.
Yeah, the second one's even more addicting. I liked playing the second one so much that I went back to the first one, and I've gotten re-addicted to that.
Monster Train.
Yeah, I should probably stay away from this.
Yeah. If you want a game that's shorter and that respects your time,
Don't let Jack find Monster Train. We will never see him again.
I'm gonna be honest. I was gonna bring up War Monkey and Fungus Finder with a $2 dono. Thank you so much, Fungus Finder. So not gonna lie, kind of like in this time slot switch already. It is late. I mean, I guess it's normally the time we get out for Metroid, but it is late. But this was a great episode because we had a lot to talk about. We had to talk about the Animal Well doc, which fucking every single human being watch it, save it, send it to your parents, send it to your grandparents. If you're trying to court a romantic a partner, send it to them. If they don't like it, fucking not worth courting. Just get out of there. But yeah, genuinely one of my favorite things that we've published ever. So yeah,
Thank you.
Absolutely love it. Javed, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me
on this nonsense rodeo. Where can folks find you? What should folks check out in your neck of the woods? Obviously, the Animal Well duck.
Yep. I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/goodbloodgames. It looks like it's all right there in the chat. Thanks, Eric. Yeah,
you knew you were going to say it, so I already put it there. Yeah.
Told you he's ahead of us in the future.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah, I'm just on the usual socials. If you look up Javed Stare It, there's not many people with the name Javed who are white, so that'll make it easy for you.
There you go. Hell yeah. Nick, what do you got going on?
I will have a new episode of Unpacked out tomorrow as usual. And then on Tuesday, we have a pretty cool announcement that we're making business related. Not a new show or anything, but keep an eye on our socials on Tuesday because we're doing some cool
publishing
shit.
War Monkey? Is that why that email came back to me? Because I requested a code and I'm the one with the codes?
I may have had told Omar to put was it War Monkey?
Warm Monkey.
These monkeys do not want war. They want
Warm.
No, this isn't Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This isn't
Warm.
Caesar.
I may have had Omar put Warm Monkey as a filter in our Gmail.
Yeah. Don't worry.
I sensed you thinking about it, and I was like, we need to keep Marty away from weird things.
We're pivoting hard to Warm Monkey content next week. Casey, what do you got going on?
The huge tomorrow big essay on Monster Hunter. Check it out. Me and the fiance continuing our playthrough of Chicory on my personal Twitch channel, Sigma Gears 9. And we will be doing a food challenge, but that food challenge is going to be mixed with Just Dance. Don't know a date yet, but because we are dieting for our eventual wedding, we're going to be trying a bunch of strange food. But the loser in a head-to-head dance challenge is the one who has to eat the strange food, and basically the calories will get offset by the dancing. It's the whole thing. It was a great idea from her. We're gonna it's gonna be a weird stream, but we're gonna make it work. More details probably tomorrow.
If I donate $100, can I get you to eat a dog treat like I did?
We're gonna eat actual human food though, so you can donate to pick a human food, and we'll probably go get it.
Anything's a dog treat. You can feed anything to a dog.
It's true.
Not anything. Some things are poisonous to dogs.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, you could still feed it to them. You shouldn't, but like,
I guess that's right.
Yeah, then on my end, like we mentioned, definitely check out DevHeads tomorrow. And on Monday, I should have a little video essay that Jesse Schwab did a banger job of editing on my favorite moment in Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. I say without being entirely positive that's the name of the game that I've put 25 hours into. I'm sure it's fine. Yeah, that about does it for us. Thank you all so much for watching / listening. Eric, can we put up a little Warm Monkey as I do this closeout? I think that would make this really great if you have a chance. Yeah, thank you everyone for watching. So many members of the Green Gang, folks on Patreon, anyone listening on your podcast service of choice. We appreciate each and every one of you. And for Javed, for Casey, for Nick, and for Eric, this was Marty. Firelink episode number 56. Thank you all so much. And go pet your warm monkeys tonight. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
That wasn't a